Hello and welcome to the 7th round of GRL. We're here after some technical difficulties. I couldn't get the stream running like I wanted to. But we're here at the end. And yeah, today we're on Barcelona. It's round 7 of the GRL, European Porsche Cup Championship. And today awaits some more exciting racing action. And the question today will be who can advance the lead in the pro class. Now at the moment Daniel Thomas is in the lead, and he is here. He is currently in the pits though. A hard rival of him will be Peter Sigter, who was really close to him but is now sadly down in 8th. Christian Maltrek, meanwhile, is only 24 points behind in the standings. And he doesn't seem to be here yet, if I see that. Oh no. That's a lie. Here he is, Christian Maltrek, in this beautiful red and white livery. Yeah, already looking for those fast lap times and already looking to get a faster lap time in than Daniel Thomas, because it's going to be important for him if he doesn't want to lose, if he doesn't want the gap to open up between the two drivers. And Christopher Smith, currently in 3rd. He is also here. He is in the pits currently. And he is only 26 points behind. So a very competitive fight for P1 in the pro category. Now in the amateur category it's not as exciting, but still there are lots of things happening. Now Dennis Blomart has built a giant lead on Sebastian Ferreira, 64 points. But the fight for P2 will be very, very interesting, as the gap from Neil Killin to Sebastian Ferreira is only 12 points. So for reference, the drivers, if they won both heat races, they have gotten about 70 points. And so 12 points is not much. 12 points can be gained very, very easily. And yeah. Now that we've established these two things, and we are on Barcelona today, and today we'll have 2 heat races, so the classic heat events, one 15-minute sprint and one 30-minute heat, with the second one having a reverse grid for the top 8. Now there will be 10 minutes of qualifying as always, with 2 flying laps, and these drivers will have to use them wisely, as if the tires aren't in the temperature window, these cars just won't be able to do anything close to the desired lap times that you'd want to set in qualifying. And now at the moment, Robert Koppler seems to be the fastest driver out. Now we've already seen a race with him and Christopher Wolfgruber, and they were very dominant in that race. Took a 1-2 finish ish in the first race at least. And today Robert Koppler is back and is probably looking for some more points in this championship. Currently fastest driver out, like I said, and he's still chasing some faster lap times. So we'll see how that goes for him. But yeah, otherwise we already know the drivers participating here. Daniel Thomas, like I said, current leader of the pro category field. And in third, Peter Sichter, very far behind in terms of points, of course, but still, we can't underestimate his performance. It's because he is in theory only 77 points behind, so about one missed participation from Daniel Thomas could already mean that he's back into championship contention. And he is currently in third. Oh, and I think that's Christopher Smith down in the gravel there. Now, this is practice. Of course, it doesn't matter yet what's happening. But still, if you're making such mistakes now, you'll have to get rid of them before qualifying and before the race. So yeah, they're looking really good here. And this, of course, is turn 12 he's going through right now. That long right-hander. It won't be long until he goes onto the start-finish line. Today we're driving on the version with the chicane. I can't say anything about why they chose that layout when you could have gotten the double right-hander. Yeah, well, I don't even know if iRacing has that version. But that could have also been very fun, but that's a big overtaking opportunity. It's easy to just send a dive bomb in there and try and get your car past. So maybe you will see some overtakes done there. And of course turn 1, as almost in every track, a huge dive bombing opportunity. Or it's very easy to get alongside with slipstream. And Peter Sichter now going past the number 93 of Neil Killen. And in front is Daniel Thomas, number 60 car. Daniel Thomas, I think I saw some wheel spin there. So all drivers still settling in, still getting in their grooves. And half an hour left until the race. It's going to be very exciting, I believe. And yeah. So in the amateur category, Dennis Blumert at fastest. But he is currently in the pit, so we look at Sebastian Ferreira, second in the amateur category, and a very quick driver. But he is currently at 1.87 seconds between the fastest time set by Robert Koppler. So we might see some more improvement, and there'll have to be if he wants to be anywhere competitive tonight. And of course, 2 heat races. Most of these drivers, when they can't get into the top slot for the first race, P8 will be the second favorite here, because that could mean that you're starting in pole for the next race, and there are loads of opportunities if you do that. I'm already seeing some support for Peter Sichter, Christopher Smith in the chat. And these two are of course a very competitive duo here. I believe they drive in the same team. They have both performed very well in the races that they've participated in. And I think we can expect some great driving from those two. With Daniel Thomas, of course, being the main antagonist here. But if we stay here in the amateur category, third at the moment is Neil Killen, who we'll look at right now because he's one position behind Sebastian Ferreira. Now the fight for P2 in the amateur category here is a little bit more exciting than the fight for P1, as Dennis Blumart has already run away with, I think now, 64 points to Sebastian Ferreira. And that means that Neil Killen can only hope to gain one position here today. But there is a significant portion of hope that he has, because there are only 12 points between the two drivers. So it is very possible that we'll see Neil Killen today take P2 in the Amateurs Championship. Dennis Blumart currently still in the pits. And fourth in the amateur standings would be Kerry Corcoran. I don't think he's here right now. But who is here is Joshua Wills in the slightly American livery, who is performing very well in the pro category, so he's currently P7 and does have a very good chance of improving his positions if he performs well. Now in front of him will be Martin Sietsma in the number 133 and Bartosz Kruszewicz in the number 700. So there'll still be some exciting fights here that you can look out for. Now I'll try to tell you what significance the fights have on the championship standings as well as possible, but you can also get the current standings if you just go to the GRL Discord link down in the description, and there you can also participate in this wonderful championship or in some other championships that they are organizing. Now as we get back to this race here, we see another very quick driver, Mats Strand. He is in the pro category. He's not fighting for any championship here today, but still a very quick driver, and I think we can look ahead to a great performance by him. Now he has participated very sparingly this season, at least at the start. He has now seemed to join in a bit more often, but still not close enough to be of any significance in the pro championship. And yeah, but still, like I said, very quick driver. I'm excited for what we'll see from him. Currently 1 second behind the fastest time Robert Koppler has set. So he's currently at a 1:47.4. Now this difference could come from him using the race setup, of course, or driving with race fuel, because the quality setup, of course, is significantly faster. And in practice, we can't say for sure that these guys are all using either the race or the quality setup. Everyone's practicing for the things that they need most practice for. And Mats Strand here is currently doing a bit of a longer stint at the moment, I think. So he might be using the race setup. Now, of course, Robert Koppler, incredibly quick driver. I won't say that this gap is just down to the setup choice. It could very well be that both of these drivers are using the same kind of setup, but it could just be a possibility. Now we're at 18 drivers in this, or 19 drivers even in this session, and all are already out pushing and trying to set some fast lap times before the race starts. Now these heat races are rather quick, and compared to the endurance heats we had, or quote-unquote endurance, it's only 50 minutes, but still one required pit stop, so a lot of strategy involved there. And here you don't have anything like that. You just put the right amount of fuel in for the time needed and then flat out until the end. Now this is a bit more this circuit is a bit more open than the others we've seen, as we've been in circuits like Bathurst, for example, or Imola, where the track is a lot tighter and overtaking opportunities are quite hard to come by. And this track, of course, a bit wider and a bit more riddled with overtaking opportunities here. So there are many corners where the guys could try and overtake, especially I think turn 10 is one we should look out for, because it's a very tight left-hander. And if you are early on the brakes there, I think there's definitely going to be someone going to that inside and trying to make an overtake. But of course, it's just speculation. The race will start in about 30 minutes. And before that we'll have qualifying, which will also be very, very interesting. I'm very excited for what kind of times these drivers will be doing. But for now, it's just predictions for how this race is gonna go. And this driver here currently in turn 5. Pretty early in the track still. And he'll be going around for another lap. He is not looking. He may be improving. Or probably not, because his last lap time was a 1:50.66. Could be because of traffic, but I believe he's not pushing his hardest right now, or doesn't have the right fuel, or that's still cold. Could all be. It doesn't seem like he's improving for now. So we'll go over to Eugene Schmidt, who is in the pro category this season, I believe. Or I would have thought. Oh no, he's in the amateur category, in P5. Bit confused there, sorry. And his car doesn't seem to have any sound. Maybe now. Yeah, it's sounding like it. So Eugene Schmidt currently P6 in the P6 in their session standings, and P5 in the amateur category standings. And Sebastian Ferreira, currently in P2, is up for grabs here. 80, he's missing 24 points. So if Sebastian Ferreira gets a DNF in even one of these races, this could be detrimental to his championship. Yeah, so a lot of things going on here. And I think a lot of exciting aspects that are going to lead to a great race here. Now, of course, this will probably be a bit... that's Eugene Schmidt going onto the curb a bit too hard, getting some overs here. Or maybe that was already on the... when he turned in, I couldn't quite see that. Oh, and that is a rejoin. If it's a safe one, that'll be... That is not my place to judge, but it did not... But it didn't really look like it from my perspective, at least. But I think most likely the stewards are gonna have a look at it, and they're gonna make the decision. I'm just here to talk about what's happening, not do any judgments here today. yeah, so Eugene Schmidt currently in 9/10 of the fastest time of Robert Koppler, but very interesting to see a supposedly amateur-rated driver up here in 6th, so far up the order, and amongst many pros or pro-ranked drivers. For example, John Bailiff, Matt Strand, and Christopher Smith are just a couple of names that have been showing up a lot in these screens, and they are all in the pro category, and like I said, fast drivers here. So Eugene Schmidt being in 6th does surprise me a little bit, but he has shown great pace across the season, so it's not too much of a surprise at least. And yeah, Bartosz Kruszewicz currently in P4, so pretty far up the order. He is currently only P6 in the championship, but Martin Zietzma, who is only 1 point ahead, is on P11, so we may see him advance his position in this race here today for the championship. And yeah, now 15 minutes of practice still remaining, and we'll move on to qualifying. 2 flying laps, and these 2 flying laps can be stopped or halted if they just don't take the first couple of corners at racing speed. So they don't have to do the classic iRacing format where you go out, you go 2 laps and then you're finished. They can delay their laps a bit, but there's only 10 minutes in the qualifying session, so it'll be crucial to get your times down quickly. So it's a very delicate balance between wasting your quali laps away by going slow for too many of them, or going fast too early and still having cold tires, cold everything, and not enough grip to set a fast enough lap time to get anywhere to become to get competitive. Oh, and Eugene Schmidt turning off into the grass there. He'll be going back to the pits, so we'll have to look at someone else. Now Christian Maltrek, a very quick driver here, and very great position in the championship as well. Now he is not looking too slow either. Just behind Bartosz Kruszewicz, who in the standings is behind him. But I think he's also not behind him by much. So yeah, like I said, many interesting factors, and we'll have to wait and see for the race to see how it all turns out. But I think what can already be said is that Daniel Thomas and Robert Koppler will probably lead on the field in the first heat race anyway. In the 15-minute sprint they will have an advantage when starting from the front. But that could also very well end in disaster if they when they have to start further down the order, and because of the reverse 8 grid for the second race start. And so that means that the first 8 cars from the results of the first race will be reversed, and that'll be the starting order for the second race, and that spices things up a lot. And yeah, so we also have Kerry Corcoran now in the session. So the fight for P2 in the amateur standings has been expanded a bit, and now everyone from P2 to P5 has a chance to get onto the podium right next to Dennis Blomart. But from 6 on downwards, so starting with Simon Geimer, they all have a 110 point disadvantage to Dennis Blomart. It will be 86, I think, points to Sebastian Ferreira. So they're in no way competitive for that high position. And now it's only 10 minutes remain. Christian Marschreck will cross the line here with a time of 1:48.63, which is looking like a great time for race pace. If I'm assuming that the guys in front did use a quali setup for their lap. But if these guys have been doing their time on race setup, it's not looking good for Christian Marschreck. Now, last season it was the other way around. In the last couple of rounds, the Pro Championship was already decided, and it was just about the honor and glory of things, or for the positions further down the order, that it truly mattered. And the amateur category was fiercely fought over, with I think 4 cars being in contention for the first place in the last race of the season. So even after 12 races, they were still pretty close together on points. And today, today it's the other way around. Dennis Blomart, who has been bumped down to the amateur category, has been absolutely dominating there, and now has a giant lead on everyone else. I think he was pro in the last season, where he didn't have where he fought great, but still was didn't perform as well as the other pro drivers. So got bumped down to amateur class this season, but this seems to be too slow for him. So let's see if the admins can find a middle ground for him, or if he will be bumped up to pro next season again. Or maybe he'll even stay here in the amateur class. It'll be very interesting to see. But of course, the drivers behind are looking a bit quicker than Blomart, especially Eugene Schmidt, who we're looking at right now. Or pretty much only Eugene Schmidt, Neil Killen and Sebastian Ferreira, and both pretty far down the order. So they're on 15 and 16 respectively, while Eugene Schmidt is up to 6th position at the moment. And there are only 7.5 minutes left until we stop with practice and we start with qualifying. Now I think it's time to look at another car, and this time we'll be looking at the amateur class leader Dennis Blomart from the Netherlands with the number 123. So one of the most used passwords in internet history probably. And he's absolutely sending it in that car. Rear almost wants to take off there, but has it under control. And he's pushing hard. In front of him is number 121. That'll be Frederik Smid, who I think is in the amateur category. Yeah, he is. Currently down at 18th, so no threat to him in any sort of way. I think even if he tried, it would be very hard to get to gain even some points back on Dennis Blomart. But they are now driving right behind each other. And Dennis Blomart here to the outside. Frederik Smid will give up that position, go slot in behind Dennis Blomart, but there is a missed apex from Dennis Blomart. So Frederik Smid made a mistake. Now Dennis Blumert made one, but Frederik Smid will just let him through. Will not pick any battles yet. He'll leave that for the race. That'll start in about 20 minutes or something. In about 15 minutes. Oh, there, bumper to bumper. A bit of bump drafting going on, I think. Oh no, they just very, very close. It seemed like that from the angle. Dennis Blumert to the inside to defend against Frederik Smid. Frederik Smid to the outside. But still no overtake done here. Very interesting that Dennis Blumert went defensive, because Frederik Smid already seemingly showed his will of not attacking Dennis Blumert. But of course, it's always a good thing to be sure. It's a very famous German saying, trust is good, control is better. And I think that also applies here. And as Dennis Blumert rounds that very fast right-hander, that's the turn 9. He'll move down towards turn 10. And Frederik Smid will be too far down to attempt any sort of dive, so he won't go defensive this time. But Frederik Smid seems to have got... Oh! That's a very huge jump there from the right side of Frederik Smid's car. But Frederik Smid seems to have gained a lot in that turn 10, in that tight left-hander. And Dennis Blumert, you can see the oversteer the setup has. So it seems like the car is very oversteery for him. Now of course judging that from the outside, from a TV camera, don't think I can make too much of a judgment here, but Dennis Blumert will stop his lap now and go back to the pits. So I think it's time to look at our championship leader in Pro, so that we have all everything in this league crossed off. Daniel Thomas only 0.14 seconds behind Robert Koppler in terms of fastest lap time. And he is looking very good on that, as you can see, already using a bit more track than Dennis Blumert. And he's pushing very hard at the moment. And he'll have to, because there are only 3 minutes of practice left if he wants to get in any faster time, if he wants to improve on the leaderboard. This is the time. This would be the lap to do that, because he won't get another one. And of course, practice times don't really matter as of right now. And only quali will significantly impact the race. Now, still some drivers leaving the pits this late into practice, maybe trying to practice a bit on cold tires, as that's what they'll have for the race start. But we're looking at a very, very clean line from Daniel Thomas here. And he seems to be doing very well. And he's passing the number 976. Now, 976, I can't really see that here. I must be overlooking something, right? It's Urus Husiak, currently in 14th, and that is a very bright livery, but it looks really, really good, I think. That's a beautiful shade of silver. And might also have a tactical advantage of blinding the enemy before they can try to overtake. But I'm just joking, of course. But now Daniel Thomas, that was his last lap, and that was a 1:47 flat. So no more improvement by him, and this will be it for the practice runs. And now we're up to qualifying. Daniel Thomas will stop now and get back to the pits, probably to prepare for qualifying that's just ahead, to change that setup. And now we'll take a quick ad break before quali starts. We'll be right back. And we're back. Everyone is going out for their quali lap, and the first one out will be Robert Koppler in the number 982. Fastest driver in practice. Let's see if he can keep that up for the race. He's doing so much of the track there, but he'll have to be careful with that. Because he could very quickly make his lap invalid. Now, iRacing, not famous for having the best track limit system, of course, but I do still think that you could get an off track or a lap ruining off track even at that corner. Or on that straight. I can see these drivers cutting very, very much there. And that's because iRacing doesn't punish based on the white line. They punish by some random circumstances, it seems. Whatever they feel like. So there's no clear system in place there. But Robert Koppler using all the track to his advantage. And now he's going on to his first timed lap. And that is looking very beautiful here. That's some beautiful driving. And as he runs the last corner, he will go on to the start-finish straight, and he's still warming up those tires. Down towards the first corner goes Robert Koppler. Let's see, does this already count as racing speed? That will be the big question. We can't really tell from this perspective. Because we don't know what inputs they're doing, or we don't know directly at least. And now Robert Koppler in his first lap. We can... this is the overlay I was looking for. Now we can see some drivers setting their first lap times here, and Robert Koppler, purple first sector here already. So already dominating the competition. And Daniel Thomas isn't far behind. And he's also not looking too far away in terms of lap time at the moment. So Robert Koppler still 2 purple sectors. So we'll see if he can take pole position provisionally, or if might He takes it from him later on with warmer tires. We'll cross the line now, and that is that is a time of 1:48.8. So nowhere close to the times we've seen him doing before. That time was 2.5 seconds slower. But he's looking like he's P1 for now. And the fastest time for now will be 1.5 seconds slower. And this is the car chasing him. Oh, it hasn't switched. This is Daniel Thomas, who we are looking at right now. And he's on his second fast lap. Now in the bottom you can see the guys doing the lap time. So Robert Kopler already won purple sector once again, but Daniel Thomas is improving, and the second sector they'll both be at the end of that very soon. So it'll be interesting. Can Daniel Thomas actually do a faster one? So Robert Kopler does not improve in that sector, but Daniel Thomas can't take a purple sector there. So Robert Kopler still has the fastest second sector of all the drivers, and Daniel Thomas will have to hope that he has gained enough in the second sector here to improve his lap time. Now a 1:48.8 was Robert Kopler's previous lap time, and he'll go down to a 1:47.16. Daniel Thomas across the line, a purple third sector, and he'll go up to P2 with a 1:47.4. Now Peter Sigter, also a very fast driver, now across the line with a time of 1:52.7. That doesn't seem like race pace to me, so I think he'll go on another fast lap, and I think we can expect him to maybe even get onto into the top 5 in terms of starting position. Oh, and that's number 972. That's the car of Urus Husiak, who has joined us for this race. Now David Raouli, you can see it on the bottom there, 2 green sectors. Where is he currently? He's currently P16. So big question, will he be able to improve? Now that one does mean that the time of the fastest driver out, and David Raouli a 1:50.83. That will be an improvement, but it will not be enough to gain him any type of position. And Peter Sigter at the moment 2 green sectors, so this is looking really good. And Bartosz Kluziewicz in front of him at the moment, and he has only 1 green sector, but he is already on P3. So the question is, will he be able to improve? And the other question is, will Peter Sigter be able to take anyone's position here? Now Bartosz Kluziewicz 1:47.9. I don't think that's an improvement. No, it's very close to that, but not quite. Now Peter Sigter up to P4 now. Joshua Wills P6. Eugene Schmidt to P6 now, pushing Joshua Wills down to P7. And Sebastian Ferreira will end his lap with a 1:49, I think it was. A 1:49. I read that correctly. Oh, and now it's getting very chaotic here in the standings. And there are only 1 second from P6 to P1, so bigger gaps than we've seen in other races, but still not to be underestimated here. But the gap that the gap from P7 to P13 seems very interesting to me, because that's under half a second between all those drivers. So I think we'll have our most exciting battles in the midfield today, and that's going to be especially interesting because P7 and P8 will be the most important for that midfield, because starting from pole leaves you out from a lot of carnage that can happen behind, and also protects you from the other drivers, from your pace division, I would say. Oh, Daniel Thomas up to P1 with a 1:47.0, but Robert Koppler now into the pits, so that does mean that Daniel Thomas on 1. Now Peter Sikter has gotten himself onto P3, Bartosz Klusiewicz on 4, Mats Strand on 5. So that was very, very nice to watch. And I think this will be it for our quali. And Peter Sikter, the only driver out. And qualifying is over. We'll take a quick ad break and then we'll be right back with you for the first heat race. And we are back here for the race start for the first heat race. Now, most of the drivers already down at the start finish line, but the top 3 are all still missing. They have half a minute left to join the grid. So Daniel Thomas surprisingly now starting from pole, and Robert Koppler only on second. Now that doesn't seem as dominant as the driver was in Bathurst. So let's see. Now there are the lights. And it's going to be lights out for the first heat race of the evening. Now Daniel Thomas gets a great launch, and Peter Sikter will now be trying to get past as Robert Koppler down into the first corner. You can see that field are very chaotic. Robert Koppler to the inside, and Peter Sikter tries to make a move around the outside, but that won't be possible, so everyone keeps their position there. Mats Strand somehow up to P4. He started in P5, and that does mean that Bartosz Klusiewicz has been knocked down 2 positions. Christopher Smith now only 1 car between the 2 teammates. And Peter Sikter already chasing down Robert Koppler, who himself is at the moment chasing down Daniel Thomas, who is in the lead. And that is looking very interesting now. We saw Joshua Worlds make a quick move there in the American themed livery there, but didn't seem to work, so there's not much movement going on here. But the field is still really, really close. And everything could happen in these corners. These corners will probably decide how the rest of the race is going to go, because if you're in front, your objective is just to defend against fast drivers incoming. And Peter Sigter, 0.2 seconds to Robert Koppler. Almost bumper to bumper here as they go down into turn 12. And they're still really close. Now the gap to Daniel Thomas from Robert Koppler now already up to 8.5 tenths. So Peter Sigter will have the slipstream advantage on the straight here. But the question is, will that be enough to make an overtake? I don't think that gap is coming down quite fast enough. And Robert Koppler will be the only one gaining here on Daniel Thomas. And that gap might be going down. I think we'll have a quick look a bit further down the order as Bartosz Krzyżewicz, who has now lost 3 positions already, is now right behind Joshua Wills and might try to get onto the offensive here. But Joshua Wills himself is on the back of Christopher Smith, so the teammate of Peter Sigter. And this might also be a very interesting constellation here. A very interesting fight for P5. Now Christopher Smith, his teammate, is only 1 car ahead, so if he can only get past Matstrand, that would be huge for him, as he could work together with his teammate to advance here. But that would require him getting past Matstrand, which it's not looking like it at the moment. More than half a second between the 2 cars. Oh, and what is happening behind Martin Sietsma against Christian Maltrek. Christian Maltrek down the inside. Martin Sietsma will try to go around the outside. They're going into turn 10. And Christian Maltrek with the better line will take the position. Now Maltrek on 8 and Martin Sietsma on 9. But there's Dennis Blomart behind them now. And he may be looking for a position himself. Now this would not get him anything in the standings, but it would get him a bit of honor and would probably be really fun for him. So he'll be trying to probably make an attack here, and he may be able to into the first corner, as there are only 3 tenths to Martin Sietsma. But the slipstream advantage that Sietsma has does prove to be too much for Dennis Blomart to close, so they will stay behind each other. Now what is happening behind John Bailiff against Simon Geimer? And Bailiff onto the inside. Simon Geimer will try to make the move around the outside. Oh, and that's not going to work for Simon Geimer, number 75 car. But they're still really close. Now he could try to make another move down the inside, but he won't. Oh, and he's losing so much time now. That's now 0.5 seconds between those 2 cars, and that's not easy to make up. And that'll be very difficult for him if he wants to close that gap back down. And we'll go back up the order again. Christopher Smith against Joshua Wills. Here, gap is closing down. And you can see Joshua Wills looking a bit better here on the exit of the corner. Close that gap down dramatically. But it seems like Christopher Smith is looking for exit speed at the moment. So he might already be on the defensive here. And he might not be looking at Matstrand in front of him. Oh, and that'll be important for him, as Joshua Wills now really close, and that gap is going down consistently. And there might be a dive bomb in order here from Joshua Wills. He goes to the inside, and Christopher Smith around the outside. Will there be an overlap? No, I don't think so, but Christopher Smith still leaves the room, doesn't want any altercations here. And Joshua Wills tries to go around the outside, but now maybe a switchback from Joshua Wills. He's trying everything to get alongside, but Christopher Smith just driving the best he can, and he'll stay ahead. Oh, now that was very wide from Christopher Smith. Joshua Wills almost running into him, but that wasn't possible for him to get alongside there. But now Bartosz Krzyżewicz also behind. And he's closing in on Joshua Wills. It'll make it extra difficult for him to get past, as Joshua Wills will now also have to look in his rear view mirror if he wants to make a pass. We can see some very aggressive cutting there. And that Sausage Cup upsets those cars really much. But it does seem like it's a faster line at the moment. So, the drivers are probably know what they're doing. Christopher Smith now has a very difficult task trying to keep Joshua Wills behind. As Strand is building a lead. Now 1.2 seconds. I don't think that's enough to get any sort of slipstream from the car in front now for Christopher Smith, the number 175. So he'll have to get away from the cars behind on his own. And that may be made easier by Bartosz Krzyżewicz, who is putting pressure on Joshua Wills now. But if Joshua Wills can just keep calm, he may have an opportunity to get past Christopher Smith very, very soon. Because that gap is already closing down again. 0.4 seconds now between the two drivers. Yes, but what is happening in front? Strand against Peter Sigter. Strand now down 0.1 seconds. Will that be an opportunity to overtake? No, it won't. Strand will stay behind and will now have to fight with the dirty air from the car in front, which will make his car a bit more difficult to drive in the corners. But that might be worth it if he can get a good exit onto one of these straights. And Peter Sigter has a bad corner here. That would mean that Strand can get past. Oh, and that's Robert Koppler. Robert Koppler has made a mistake. And let's see if there is a replay of that here. Doesn't look like it at the moment. So Robert Koppler just probably made a little mistake. And now he's down to P4, but he's already on the offensive again. Strand. He'll try to go down the inside or the outside for turn 12 here, but there won't be enough of a gap there to try and get past. Oh, Smith against Wills. The battle is on, and Joshua Wills will go down on the inside. Oh, and now it's bumper to bumper. Bartosz Krzyżewicz also joining in, and they're turning onto the start finish straight now. Bartosz Krzyżewicz really close to Christopher Smith here. So if he can use that slipstream to his advantage, if he can get alongside into the first corner, that would probably mean Christopher Smith can't defend it. And he's trying Bartosz Krzyżewicz to the inside, but Christopher Smith has the better braking point, so he'll stay ahead for now. And Bartosz Krzyżewicz still very, very close here, so that opportunity isn't gone yet. But I think we'll go ahead again, as Strand is really, really close to Koppler. And he could maybe try a move here. No, he won't. He will stay behind again. Oh, I'm seeing something very interesting. The Netherlands trio here. You have 3 drivers from the Netherlands, all fighting against each other. All very, very quick drivers. 1 pro against... No, it's 1 pro against 2 amateur ranked drivers. And Martin Sietsma here, who's a driver in the middle. His task will be to get past Dennis Blomart somehow. Now Dennis Blomart was in P10 before we saw him, or I think in quali it was that way. And now he's up to P9. Eugene Schmidt losing a lot of time at the moment. So it'll only be a battle between Dennis Blomart and Martin Sietsma for now. Into turn 12 they go, and that gap is opening up at the moment. Dennis Blomart focusing on the exits here, which is very important when you're defending. You have to create a gap for the straights, so the other car can't get by on slipstream or a lucky dive bomb. But he's doing that very beautifully. And now onto the start finish straight they go. Martin Sietsma doesn't seem to be close enough to try an overtake into the first corner, but I won't speak too soon. No, that's not going to happen. Into the first corner, Dennis Blomart still miles ahead, so we'll go down a bit. Frederik Smit against Simon Geimer and Sebastian Ferreira against Patrick Rosendahl just behind. Sebastian Ferreira doing his best to fend off Patrick Rosendahl. Patrick Rosendahl again to the outside. He'll try to overtake again, but Sebastian Ferreira has the inside here, which would be an advantage. Simon Geimer gets past Frederik Smid now. And Patrick Rosendahl down the inside. Sebastian Ferreira won't have any leverage here to protect his position. And through goes Patrick Rosendahl. But that battle isn't over yet. Both drivers still want to... both probably still want to get closer to the cars in front. The question now is, will Ferreira work together with Patrick Rosendahl? No, he won't. Bad exit from Patrick Rosendahl, and instantly Sebastian Ferreira is alongside. Will it be enough of an overlap to stay alongside though? Yes, it will, and Sebastian Ferreira will not get the better exit of that corner, so that does mean that Patrick Rosendahl will keep that position for now. And now Marc de Bruyn has closed in from behind and will now make it more difficult for Sebastian Ferreira to attack Patrick Rosendahl now that he's also under pressure from behind. But that gap between Patrick Rosendahl and Frederik Smid is opening up, so Frederik Smid now a bit safer, it seems. We'll look up front. Bartosz Klujevic against Christopher Smith. Christopher Smith has gone far down the order. He was very close to his teammate Peter Sichter, but now down in P6. I think he had a great start, but couldn't hold that pace up for the race. Couldn't keep that momentum going. Now Bartosz Klujevic is trying to get past him, but that wasn't a good line through those corners. So he's losing time to Christopher Smith at the moment, and there's only 1 minute left as well of this race. Oh, that has passed very, very quickly, I have to say. But yeah, this is not looking like another overtake is going to happen. So we'll go down to Simon Geimer against Frederik Smid again. Now Frederik Smid has the advantage here because he has slipstream. Simon Geimer does not. But Patrick Rosendahl has closed in again on Frederik Smid. He has closed that 1 second gap down. And he's now also in a spot to try and make an overtake. And it's looking like Patrick Rosendahl is losing again, because he has pressure from behind. There's Sebastian Ferreira and there's Marc de Bruyn to worry about. Two very quick drivers who both want that position from Patrick Rosendahl. Now Frederik Smid will not get a good exit onto the start-finish straight. But Sebastian Ferreira will be very close to Patrick Rosendahl, which might warrant a move down the inside. I think that's too far back. Oh no, he will go for it. No, he will not. I thought he was going for the inside for a moment, but probably just trying to scare his opponent. And it does work because Patrick Rosendahl goes a bit wide there, but I don't think it's going to have much of an impact on his pace at the moment. Now this is the last lap. This is it's about everything now. And Frederik Smid still chasing now Simon Geimer and Sebastian Ferreira. Not looking too good here in this fight against Patrick Rosendahl. But I think it's time to look ahead at Daniel Thomas, who had such a great race here, 5 seconds to Peter Sichter. So he has built himself a huge lead, and he will take home victory in just a couple of corners for the first heat. And that will mean that he can further his lead in the championship standings, because the second driver, Christian Malczarek, is in P8. He's not even close, but that does mean that Malczarek will start the next race in P1 and Daniel Thomas in P8. But for now, it's time to celebrate Daniel Thomas into P1. A wonderful race from him. Huge congratulations to him. Oh, and what is happening now? Bartosz Kurzevic in the last corner. He will get past Christopher Smith. It's going to be a photo finish. Oh, and Bartosz Kurzevic just takes it only half a tenth ahead of Christopher Smith. What an overtake, but that doesn't mean that he will start behind Christopher Smith for the next heat race. Incredible what these drivers have done here. And now it's time for the longer half an hour race. But we'll do a quick ad break and then we'll be right back with the second race. So we are back here. Now it's going to be a little warm up here before we start going to the race. Now David Raouli, no, I read that wrong. Here Christian Moltschwig will start the race in first, which will be very, very interesting. Because he is currently second in the Pro Championship. So if he can finish first and Daniel Thomas finishes in 8th, that will be a stalemate between these two drivers, and they'll probably be awarded similar points for that for this weekend. And that would mean that the hopes for Christian Moltschwig's championship won't die here today. But he'll have to get to the finish first, because to finish first you must finish, as you might already know. And here's Sebastian Ferreira, one of the first guys. Had a beautiful race from him just now, and as I've been told, this is a beautiful night blue livery. Oh, and that is a bit of oversteer he's experiencing there. So just over pushed a bit in that corner, and he's going back to the pits now. Let's hope he doesn't repeat that mistake in the actual race, which will happen 1.5 minutes from now. But yeah, what can I say? We are only minutes from the race now, and I am very excited for this race. Now, what have we seen? We have seen that Robert Koppler hasn't had such a dominant performance as I at least thought he would, but Daniel Thomas looked really, really quick out there. And he is going to probably be a really really quick driver also in the second race. Now the question is, he's starting from P8. How much can he actually do from there? I don't think he can get P1 again, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Now, now Christian Moltschwig, he wasn't looking too fast in this one. So it'll be all about trying to hold that first position and not really about driving away from the competition. So he has a huge task ahead of him and he's already preparing at the moment. He's out right now doing some last minute practice, but now time's up and the race will start very, very soon. Now the grading process has started, and now we can see yeah, here. Okay, we can see that Christian Martrek will start from the top, then Christopher Smith in second. Bartosz Djordjevic will start from the second row, because he overtook Christopher Smith on the last straight. And we are already seeing all the cars on the grid, so going to switch to this camera. Well, I'll see if there is a nicer one. No, but it looks like this will be the best one to watch the start from. And now lights are on. Second race about to begin any moment now. Oh, and that's a miss start from Christopher Smith. That's a forced start from Christopher Smith, and he will get a penalty for that. Now Christian Martrek into the lead, of course. Got a bit of a better launch than Christopher Smith, even though he had a missed start. That's very unfortunate for him. Joshua Wills out of nowhere up to P2. Incredible start from him. Now we're looking at Daniel Thomas in the standings there. He's still in 8th, so no improvement from him there. Oh, but that is looking incredible. What is happening down here? Natuga, this is Marstrand against Christopher Smith here. Marstrand down the inside, and you'll get past. And now Robert Koppler also down the inside of Christopher Smith. He's losing so much here, and that teammate of him, Peter Sigda, now also trying to get past. Now the question is, will he let him, or will he try and fight? It doesn't really make sense for him to fight, especially since he's his teammate. Oh, and they will touch, and Christopher Smith is off. That wasn't intentional, but that's still very unfortunate for him. Now he got a black flag, and oh wait, did he? Yes, he did. He did get a black flag. So now P19 has fallen way down the order, and at the moment Christian Martrek to the top. He goes holding P1 beautifully, but Daniel Thomas already up to P6, so it won't be a stalemate at least. Daniel Thomas already getting really close here, but he still has some traffic to work through if he wants to get remotely close. Oh, what is happening here? Sebastian Ferreira against Frederik Smid here. Frederik Smid to the outside, and Sebastian Ferreira will have the inside here. And what will that mean for that exit? It seems to be a bit compromised for Sebastian Ferreira, as Frederik Smid does have the overspeed here and will get the overtake done, but Sebastian Ferreira now already has the inside line here, and he will be able to break himself into that gap. Oh, and that's not looking like a huge gap. Oh, he's carrying out, he's letting the car carry him out a bit, but that overtake is done. Frederik Smid is in front of Sebastian Ferreira. Oh, but there's a lot of things going on back here. Mark de Bruyne against Patrick Rosendahl. Patrick Rosendahl to the inside. Oh, and he will... No, oh, that could have been close with Sebastian Ferreira, but Patrick Rosendahl is through. And now also Roland Greer also attacking Mark de Bruyne here. And Kerry Corcoran now has thrown an eye on Roland Greer. Oh, that is not... Oh, Patrick Rosendahl is off. Patrick Rosendahl is off. And it will mean Mark de Bruyne up one position, as is everyone else behind him. And they will now chase down Sebastian Ferreira. Oh, that is very unfortunate. I think we'll go up to John Bailiff. Or, oh, well, I think I saw it wrong. Yeah, here's some interesting stuff happening. Neil Killen against Martin Sietsma. Now, one is pro, one is not, but that doesn't have to say anything. We've seen many times before, for example with Julian Garcias, if you're in the amateur class, that doesn't mean anything because that driver is in the top 4 for the Pro Championship at the moment, and he started the season out in the amateur category. Dennis Blumert here against Eugene Schmidt. Dennis Blumert down the inside. That won't be a significant overlap here, but Eugene Schmidt, very respectful, still gives him the room. Dennis Blumert looking for a gap here, but he'll have to do something more than that half-hearted move we just saw, because Eugene Schmidt doing great defensive work here, doing his best to hold and Dennis Blumert behind. Oh, what is looking very interesting, Mats Strand now having to defend against Robert Koppler and Daniel Thomas. A huge task for the driver, but he might have some help from Bartosz Klujevic, who is gaining rapidly on. So if he fights with him and gets past, that would mean that Robert Koppler will have another car to fight with before he can fight Mats Strand again. And that would mean some more time for Mats Strand to maybe even get a gap going. But only 5 minutes have passed, and this is a 30-minute race. This is a very, very long race, and these drivers will have to do a lot of consistency work to keep ahead here. Now we've already seen Christopher Smith's race ending horribly. Now let's hope that doesn't happen to other drivers. Oh, but now Daniel Thomas getting really close to Robert Koppler here. Will he try and move down the inside? No, he's smart enough not to. He knows the car in front has slipstream, and he probably knows that an attack would not get him much of an advantage here. But now Robert Koppler getting really close to Mats Strand. Maybe Daniel Thomas is waiting for an opportunity when Robert Koppler tries to overtake Mats Strand. Maybe he's trying to get into that gap as well, right behind him. But they're currently just a chain of 3 cars at the moment, driving with each other. Oh, there are already bugs flying through my window here, because it's getting so dark already here in Germany. But back to the race here. Robert Koppler and Mats Strand. That gap is opening up, but so is the gap between Robert Koppler and Daniel Thomas. So all of these drivers don't have to focus as much on the rear view mirrors as before. Oh, what am I seeing here? Mark Dubreuil against Frederik Smid. Frederik Smid down the inside. Mark Dubreuil trying to attempt a switchback, but that doesn't work. And now Holland Greer right behind him. That man has American ping, so Mark Dubreuil will have to be very, very careful what he does here, because that iRacing netcode could end deadly here. But Mark Dubreuil not getting a good exit here onto the side finish straight, and that will be the possibility for Holland Greer to get alongside, especially since Mark Dubreuil doesn't really have a slipstream now from the cars in front. Oh, and that's an overlap. That's definitely an overlap. He could close the gap a bit more here, Holland Greer, but it's enough to get the car past Mark Dubreuil, and that'll be all he really wanted. Oh, a very, very nice pass. Now David Erhuli against Christian S. Joux. Now that gap was closing down rapidly before, but it doesn't seem like it is now. What is happening in front? Robert Koppler has gotten past Mats Strand. Mats Strand now down to 5th. And Daniel Thomas already waiting behind him for an opportunity to overtake. Daniel Thomas, he's already doing really well for now in this in terms of championship points. but I don't think I don't think anyone else is going to be close to the points he gets here today, or no one, or at least no one will get more or the same amount of points here. But it's looking like he'll try and play it safe, because there aren't many overtaking attempts being done here. And if Daniel Thomas got past, he would have to fight against Robert Koppler again, and that would maybe leave an open from an attack from behind, an attack from Matstrand. So, and at the moment he doesn't really have an opportunity to get past Matstrand, so he'll have to stay behind. First 10 minutes of this race now already up, and 20 remain. Now the field is already splitting up here. I think that's one of the bigger battles that we're looking at right now here. Yeah, but the gaps are opening up. But what is not opening up is the gap between Matstrand and Daniel Thomas. I thought Daniel Thomas would try and go to... Oh, he is! Daniel Thomas trying to go around to the inside a second time here, but he won't have any success there. There's no room for him there, but that does mean that Matstrand will lose his connection to Robert Koppler, who is quite a bit ahead of him now, 0.8 seconds. And Daniel Thomas is becoming a bigger and bigger threat here. Oh, this could be very dangerous for Matstrand's race. Is because I don't think he can defend against Daniel Thomas without slipstream here. Because they have about the same pace, if not Daniel Thomas is a bit faster. So I think Matstrand will desperately need some of that slipstream. But at the moment it's not looking like he's gonna get it. But that gap also isn't big enough to try and get an overtake done for Daniel Thomas. Oh, but what is happening in front is what I'm asking, because Christian Maltrek is being followed by Joshua Wills. That gap is closing. Oh, I think we need to get back to this fight, Matstrand and Daniel Thomas, because that gap is way too tight at the moment. And Matstrand will not feel comfortable in his own skin right now. And he'll have to push very hard and go very defensive. Oh, Daniel Thomas to the inside. Will Matstrand be able to get a switchback on here? No, he won't. And that's the pass for P5 from Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas now up to P5, but Robert Koppler already out of reach. So maybe there's still hope for Matstrand. Maybe he'll be able to make an overtake in the coming corners. Oh, but Daniel Thomas gaining massively in such a short time span. So we'll go down the order. Sebastian Ferreira against Simon Geimer. That gap is coming down, and is coming down fast. Now, these two drivers, both very, very quick, but both in the amateur category. So I'm expecting a fight of similar widths here. Oh, but Sebastian Ferreira is doing the work. He's putting in his time here and trying to close that gap down. But Simon Geimer was not born yesterday. He will try to open that gap up a bit more, if he can do that. And he will be able to. That gap is now 0.5 seconds, so half a second now. That is very significant. Now the question is, will Sebastian Ferreira be able to close that gap back down? Because I think it was about the same last lap at this point. But this gap now will be to try and close that gap down to the final 2 tenths or even 1 tenth, and then try a move down the inside or outside, whatever he prefers, or whatever the situation might be. And that gap is coming down, so Sebastian Ferreira now may be going into range for an attack. Oh, but no, that gap is opening up again already. It's like a rubber band that's keeping him behind here and is keeping him from closing that gap. So Mikama here with incredible pace, able to hold his position off, even against Sebastian Ferreira, who should have the slipstream advantage here. But I don't think the slipstream gives these drivers much of an advantage here, as we've seen many times before. Sebastian Ferreira, the Porsche Cup cars don't seem to be affected much by slipstream. We've only seen about 1 or maybe even 2 tenths gained on the main straight. So if you aren't already bumper to bumper, there's almost no chance you'll get past. And these cars don't have a DRS button or something similar. Oh, but Eugene Schmidt, Dennis Blumert and Neil Killin all in a freeway battle for P9. Dennis Blumert down the inside of Eugene Schmidt. But Eugene Schmidt still has the overlap. But he will have Eugene Schmidt going very, very wide, and there's a bit of gravel on the road there. So that won't really help him with his course. But he's still alongside with Dennis Blumert, and Dennis Blumert leaving him very much room there. That's a generous amount of room for a championship battle that's going on here. Eugene Schmidt down the inside, and he is through again, but Dennis Blumert will try the switchback, and they're alongside once again. Now Dennis Blumert will have the inside line for next corner, but he lets off the throttle to let Eugene Schmidt in front. So that battle has ended for now, but I don't think it will be silent for long. Only 0.3 seconds between these two drivers. So any mistake from Eugene Schmidt could be the possibility Dennis Blumert is waiting for. But what is happening at the front? Christian Malczak under attack from Joshua Wills and Bartosz Kruszewicz. There's Robert Koppler in the back there. Oh, and Joshua Wills trying to scare Christian Malczak off his line with a quick move down the inside, but he will keep behind for now. He's getting closer and closer around Christian Malczak. Half the race is already up, so he'll need to defend for 13 more minutes if he wants to keep this P1. He's doing his absolute best right now, I'd imagine. And now Joshua Wills under pressure from Bartosz Kruszewicz, who is right behind him. But that exit wasn't looking too good. So that gap between Bartosz Kruszewicz and Joshua Wills opening up again, and the gap between Joshua Wills and Christian Malczak will now be closing again. Oh, but Daniel Thomas here is looking very, very interested in that P4 that Robert Koppler currently has. Now, in the Bathurst race, Robert Koppler was looking faster than Daniel Thomas. So now to see the roles reversed, it's really surprising for me, with Daniel Thomas now being the hunter here. But long right-hander. And he'll go barrel down towards the start-finish line. Now the question is, will Daniel Thomas be able to close that gap down enough for an overtaking opportunity here, especially when the cars in front are so close and his slipstream advantage will probably be close to 0. But that is looking like there's only about 1 car length between them, but I don't think he's going to be able to close that down exactly, and he will stay behind for this lap, or for this corner at least. I think he's still waiting for a mistake from Robert Koppler, but I think he's going to have to wait long for that. That driver is very, very consistent, and has been for the entire race. But now Robert Koppler a bit wide, but that doesn't really hurt his pace too much. And Christian Moltrek is opening that gap up again. Only 0.7 seconds between him and Joshua Wills, because Joshua Wills is getting pressured from behind. Robert Koppler now has a new goal. Bartosz Kruszewicz. I'm mixing up these names like crazy. I'm getting a little tired here. This has been a lot of talking, and this is very, very exciting, but had a long day behind me, so do excuse if I say something stupid or nonsensical. And Robert Koppler down the inside of Bartosz Kruszewicz. Kruszewicz will try to hold the outside, but no use there. So Koppler now up to P3, and Daniel Thomas will be right behind Bartosz Kruszewicz. Now the question is, will he be able to make a move at the into the first corner of the track? Because that's going to be his best opportunity of the entire track, I believe. If he doesn't do it there, where else is he going to do it? But that's a very bad exit for him onto the main straight. He's bleeding time, and now Bartosz Kruszewicz is way too far ahead to try any sort of overtake. 10 minutes left, so Daniel Thomas will have to hurry up now if he wants to get some more points for the championship. But Bartosz Kruszewicz all over Robert Koppler now. Those two cars are getting closer, so will Bartosz Kruszewicz, who I would have at least thought would be way slower than Robert Koppler, will he maybe have a chance to get past again? And that is the big question, because his pace is looking incredible right now. Well, I may have really underestimated this driver, because he's keeping up really, really well with Robert Koppler, and now that gap to Daniel Thomas is growing steadily. Currently Daniel Thomas has no chance of getting past, but now the gap is going down, so it's also always a bit of rubber banding we are looking at here. And yeah, these drivers all trying their absolute best to keep up with each other. Daniel Thomas right onto the bumper of Bartosz Kruszewicz again. Now second time might be the charm here, because if he can get a good exit here, that could mean that Bartosz Kruszewicz's position is gone. But that's not looking good here. The gap is opening up, so probably not a good exit from Daniel Thomas, and he will have to stay behind for the first corner. Bartosz Kruszewicz will be able to keep P4 for now, but he's not able to close that gap down to Robert Koppler. Meanwhile, Robert Koppler has other things to worry about, as now Joshua Wills is right in front of him, and he is in attacking range, or at least he was 0.2 seconds away from the American driver. But now that gap is opening up again, half a second between them. Daniel Thomas goes past Bartosz Kruszewicz, because Bartosz Kruszewicz spins out. I think we'll take a quick look at that replay. That's very unfortunate for him. What happened here? Oh, just turned in a bit too fast and got a bit of oversteer. That is very, very unfortunate. Okay, so now back to life. Robert Koppler chasing down Joshua Wills, and Joshua Wills in turn chasing down Christian Moltrek. Christian Moltrek, only 7 minutes left in this race. Will he be able to defend this P1? He'll have to defend like his life depends on it, and you'll see him slowing down at that apex very, very hard to get a bit of distance between him and the other cars. And that has worked, though he got away with a bit of rear bumper damage. I don't think that's going to affect him much, because because Joshua Wills has gotten front and rear bumper damage, or so even if they got any damage at all there. from driving into the back of Christian Maltschik and then having Robert Koppler drive into the back of him. Oh, but this is a very exciting four-way battle for the lead. Joshua Wills, quick move down the inside to try and scare his opponent, but it's not going to work. Christian Maltschik looking very, very consistent here. And that gap is opening up again. Now it's above half a second, but that can go down very, very quickly. A beautiful drive here from Christian Maltschik, keeping his nerves down and also his head for these last final moments, trying his best to protect this P1. Now, Joshua Woods was always in attacking range, I think, for almost the entire race. So incredible drive from Christian Maltschik here to keep the car in P1 for all this time. Oh, Daniel Thomas now right on the back of Robert Koppler. Might he try to make an overtake? No, because that corner was a bit too slow. Oh, and now it's a formation flight down towards the first corner, towards turn 10. Now Joshua Wills going defensive there and slowing down very hard at the apex. So now he is apparently focused on defending against Koppler and not on catching Christian Maltschik, which is good news for Christian Maltschik, who now can go, who can pull ahead and gain a lot of time, maybe even get off the slipstream range if he's lucky. Oh, and that's a very strong chain here. Oh, Daniel Thomas to the inside. Robert Koppler has made a mistake on the exit. Daniel Thomas down the inside. Oh, but Robert Koppler will have the slipstream for that straight. Oh, but he's slowing down. He's letting Daniel Thomas past, because he knows there's no point in fighting. Oh, bit further behind, Dennis Blumert against Eugene Schmidt. We have seen this battle before. Dennis Blumert down the inside. He will easily sail past Eugene Schmidt. Eugene Schmidt counter-offensive, maybe. He has to go a long way around the outside, so he won't be able to get alongside there. So he'll have to stay behind for now. Bartosz Krzyżewicz a bit further up, bit in front, has caught up to John Bailiff, or taken a bit of gravel on the exit there. That will slow him down a bit, but still chasing down John Bailiff. Oh, and that gap is going down. That gap is becoming more and more critical. Now into turn 10. Bartosz Krzyżewicz will not try a move. I think we'll go up to Joshua Wills, who is now under pressure from Daniel Thomas. 3 minutes remaining in this battle here, or in this race in general. Now Christian Maltschik looking very comfortable with a 1 second gap to Joshua Wills now. But even if Daniel Thomas gets past, he would only have one more, now 2 more laps to try and get past Christian Maltschik. And it's not looking good for him, because he can't even get past Joshua Wills at the moment. But this is still very good for his standing in the championship right now. Daniel Thomas on 3, because a P1 and a P3 finish that would put him miles ahead of Christian Maltschik, who finished P8 and may finish P1 in this race. Oh, but this is looking very, very interesting. Joshua Wills now has to defend very, very hard to keep his position, but there's only about 1.5 laps left. So if he's lucky, he can keep that position. If he's lucky, he can keep P2. And if he's unlucky, Daniel Thomas will make a pass, and Christian Maltschik might then become a target for the Welsh driver. Oh, down the inside goes Daniel Thomas. Oh, he found the gap and he used it, and he's past Joshua Wills, but Joshua Wills will re-attack. Down the inside goes Joshua Wills. And they'll be side by side again. But Daniel Thomas, he doesn't have the room to pull away. Oh, and they're getting a bit touchy there, but both cars have survived. And Daniel Thomas is through onto P2. But now that is a 1.8 second gap to Christian Malczarek. I don't think he's going to be able to close that down. So we'll look a bit further down the order as Holland Greer and Mark de Bruyn are fighting with each other. And the gap is opening up again. It seems that gap is opening up fast. Oh, Holland Greer into the pits. Maybe he misjudged the fuel. Oh, that is drama here in the last lap. Some more drama here. Bartosz Krujovic against John Bailiff. They're side by side. Bartosz Krujovic has gone through. But John Bailiff with the later braking. And can he make it stick around the outside? Oh, not at the moment. Oh, but he's ahead now and he has the inside for the next corner. And Bartosz Krujovic, he will not have enough of an overlap to stop him from going wide there. And that will mean Bartosz Krujovic still in 7th. Now I think it's time to turn onto Christian Malczarek in this beautiful red and white livery. Because 1 second to Daniel Thomas, I don't think that's ever going to be enough for Daniel Thomas. Or I don't think that's going to be too much for too little for Daniel Thomas to get close. And now as he's rounding that last chicane and that last corner, I want to congratulate Christian Malczarek for this incredible drive and incredible win here, defending this position for half an hour with no breaks. This is a well-deserved win for Christian Malczarek. Congratulations to the number 70 here. Daniel Thomas in second, Joshua Wills in third, and Robert Koppler down in fourth. Simon Geimer against Christian Ferreira. So Geimer will end up in 11th and Ferreira in 12th. And these are the last couple of drivers to finish. Here we have Christian as Jewel and a bit in front. Holland Greer, who had to make the pit, who lost a lot of time doing that. That is very unfortunate. I hope he gets a better fuel strategy for the next race. But still, congratulations for P16 for Holland Greer, who had such a great race, who was such a competitive driver, and is now sadly ending up so far down the order. And we're waiting for the last 3 drivers now. Christian as Jewel will now go across the line, P17. Congratulations also to this driver. Congratulations to every driver who participated here today. And I think this is going to be the last driver that will cross the finish line today. This is David Raouli, finishing in 19th. Sadly that last of the ones who did finish, but still very impressive performance by him. So congratulations to Daniel Thomas and Christian Malczarek for their respective wins in their own heat races. And I thank you so much for watching this live stream. If you want to join this league yourself, there's a link in the description. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you next week for the same championship, the same drivers, and the same battles again. I hope you have a great evening. Goodbye.